You may know that most of the time here on this channel, I just talk about movies, but I do listen to a lot of metal, things like death metal, black metal, a little bit of power metal, heavy metal, sludge and doom, and I have a long history of prom dress metal. So today I'm going to talk about metal. I hope some of y'all out there are interested. I am going to be ranking Watain's studio albums. So if anyone watching isn't familiar with Watain, you probably won't enjoy this video, but they're a Swedish black metal band. I actually didn't start listening to them until about 2014, 2013. So I don't have a very long history with them, but they very quickly rose to the top of my list of being one of my top favorite metal bands. Okay, so let's rank them, all right? First, we have Rabid Curse from 2000. This being one of their earlier albums, it definitely has a lot more of a raw sound, which I do really like the raw black metal. But from Watain, I tend to prefer a little bit more melody. So while Rabid's Curse is really listenable, I'd say it's listenable in more of like an ambient way, if you get what I'm saying. It's a little bit harder for me to like discern those tracks because they're less melodic and less like experimental, you could say. But again, I do enjoy traditional black metal. But for Watain, I think I'm gonna put this album at the bottom. I know that's kind of predictable to put the first one at the bottom, but that's what I'm gonna go with for now. Next is Casus Luciferi from 2003. I love this album. I love Devil's Blood, Puzzles of Flesh, I Am the Earth. I love all of these tracks. This is a really brutal, evil sounding album. I remember reading the little booklet that came with the CD saying that when they are writing their lyrics, they're channeling from the black abyss. And I thought that sounded really scary, but you can definitely kind of hear that in the lyrics and just in the overall tone of the album. And Devil's Blood, of course, is famously the song in which Eric flings blood on the audience during live performances. So it has like a little bit of nostalgia, you know? But yes, I spent a lot of time with this album, really liking it. So I think I'm gonna put it at like number 4, and we'll see. I might rearrange it later. Next, we have Sworn to the Dark from 2007. This is my ultimate favorite Watain album. I can't tell you how many times I have listened to this album. Every single song on here is a banger, but my favorites are Satan's Hunger and The Serpent's Chalice. But since this is such a good album, you know how sometimes you'll be like, oh, I really feel like Legions of the Black Light today. You know, each song appeals to you in its own way. I think Sworn to the Dark is just this perfect balance of fierce black metal, but mixed with melody that makes it all a bit more palatable. You know, you can hum along with it. You know what I'm saying? You can sing along with it. And you don't necessarily get that from Rabid Curse or Casus Luciferi. Yes, I found this album really haunting. I spent a lot of time listening to it in the winter around Christmas, which I think is quite fitting because Christmas and Yule are actually spooky times where everything's dark and everything's cold. So honestly, I just can't say enough good things about this album. This is where I started with Watain, I think. This is the album that I got my hands on first, and it's still my top favorite. So that one's definitely number 1. Now we have Lawless Darkness from 2010. They're really getting into more melodic territory. The hype for Malefitor, which I've never tried to say out loud. In my head I say Malefitor. The hype for Malefitor got a little old because it almost sounds like a radio hit or something. But Waters of Wine, the last track on this album, is my favorite Watain song. I love that song. It's like when I listen to it, it's like I'm deep underwater. You know, it takes me deep underwater, and it's just so freaking powerful. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Now, while Malefitor was kind of like a little too radio friendly, the other songs on here are really great. I really like Four Thrones. Total Funeral is great. You know what? I'm putting this at number 4. I'm putting this below Casus Luciferi, even though Waters of Wine is my favorite song. Next up is The Wild Hunt from 2013, and this is when I think they were exploring something different. This is where they were really going for something much more listenable for the masses, I think. It could have something to do with all the sacrifices to Satan. If that was done in the name of fame, well, maybe they were led this way to be more listenable. Now, while this album does have soaring melodies and even slow, lonely black metal ballads, I think it's still really, really well done, and I do appreciate the experimentation. There is still some viciousness here. Outlaw is such a weird song. I haven't even listened to anybody like speak on this album or anything. Outlaw is really weird, but also kind of good, right? The Child Must Die. Oh, and of course, They Rode On, something I would have never expected from Watain. But it's fun, you know, especially when you're first getting into Watain. Maybe this is where you should start if you have trouble with the harsher sides of black metal. This is a great kind of introduction to ease you into the rest of their discography, because I think The Wild Hunt is about as soft as it gets. I do still really like it. I've listened to it gazillions of times. But right now I'm going to put it underneath Lawless Darkness. And next we have Trident, Wolf, Eclipse. This is the time period when I was an active listener and I had a new album to anticipate. So I got this when it came out because I was a Watain fan at this point. It's almost like a little bit punky, if you get what I'm saying. They went back to a harsher, more vicious sound, and very like upbeat stuff, but they kind of stripped a lot of the like gloomy melodies out. And I have to admit, this one took a while to grow on me. I listened to it so many times, like trying to like it more, trying to get to know it more, if that makes sense, like trying to make memories with it. This one doesn't particularly impress me. I do really like A Throne Below. That's probably my favorite track off of the album. I think it's very listenable. It just felt like something was missing. Like I don't feel a connection with this album. So for Trident, Wolf, Eclipse, I'm gonna put it at number 6, down there at the bottom. And finally, we have The Agony Ecstasy of Watain from 2022. I really like this album. This one was really good. They got a little back into some slower, melody-infused type of songs. Tracks like Saramosa and We Remain. I just love We Remain. I think it is so cool. Those are some of the like more melodic songs. I don't know, I feel like this album is a really nice balance within the range we've gotten from Watain. I think Agony and Ecstasy is a really, really good one. This would be another one that I think would be a good first album for someone trying to get into Watain. It's hard for me to tell you what my favorite song is from this album. It might be Black, but that could just be because of the title. And now I have to figure out where to place Agony and Ecstasy. This is just like my opinion, not objectively the best, but like me ranking them in terms of how I like them. I'm gonna do what feels right here. I'm gonna move Casus Luciferi to number 2. And then I'm gonna put Agony and Ecstasy at number 3. So to recap, we have 2007's Sworn to the Dark as number 1. We got 2003's Casus Luciferi at number 2. We have 2022's Agony and Ecstasy of Watain at number 3. We have 2010's Lawless Darkness at number 4. 2013's The Wild Hunt at number 5. 2018's Trident Eclipse. Trident Wolf Eclipse at number 6. And 2000's Rabid Death's Curse at number 7. But to be clear, I enjoy all of these albums in some form or fashion. Oh, and I didn't even show you, I have a Watain tattoo. So that's how much I love them. I do have a Watain poster over here on the wall that is out of frame. And I've seen Watain live 3 times. And I was gonna see them like last March, but they couldn't get into the US, so their tour got canceled. I hope to see them again one day, and it's really great to, I consider them like a new band, isn't that funny, even though they formed in like 96? But it's great to be listening to a band that's new and current and to just be able to anticipate new releases and more tours in the future. And funnily enough, I first heard about Watain when I was in college, I think, and they were on the covers of the metal magazines, and I was like, what a joke. They're so gimmicky. They think they're so cool because they drink pig's blood. But several years later, when I did finally start listening to them, I fell in love. They just have such a beautiful way of combining ferocity with melody and also just taking you to this black empty space. They've helped me through many hard times and also carried me through many happy times. So love you, Watain. Let me know how you would rank Watain's albums, or what your favorite is or what your least favorite is. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.